Okay, so Apple's 2022 fall keynote is officially over and the new iPhone 14 lineup is front and center of the tech world right now, and there's a lot to be excited about, but dude, we gotta talk about one major omission this year. There's no iPhone 14 mini. Now, frankly, this isn't the biggest surprise, especially if you've been keeping up with the news around the iPhone. I mean, the death of the mini has been talked about for years now. And depending on who you are, your reaction to no updated iPhone mini is truly gonna vary. If you're like me and you've embraced the mini form factor and know how incredible of a phone the iPhone 13 mini is, this is quite heartbreaking. But if you're in the group that's more chanting good riddance or can't believe that it took this long, first off, you're in the majority, and I'm guessing that you all are very pleased with Apple going the exact opposite direction with the debut of the iPhone 14 Plus. Regardless of where you fall, today I want to talk about the reason why the iPhone mini is quote-unquote dead. And I put it that way because at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about how it may see a potential revival, so hit that like button and let's just jump right into it. So the main reason why there's no iPhone 14 mini and why it's likely the mini form factor is dead, brass tacks, the mini iPhones just didn't sell well. Multiple reports have stated that Apple drastically overestimated the demand for the 12 mini and 13 mini and slashed productions on both phones way earlier than anticipated. All to say, when it came to percentage of total iPhone 13 sales across the lineup, the 13 mini only accounted for 5%, which is pretty paltry to say the least. And there's a few reasons why the mini bombed so hard, and the first has to do with an ongoing trend of consumers wanting bigger and bigger phones. The Verge recently put out an article on this topic, and they had this great graphic that showed consumer buying trends when it came to smartphones, and you could see how there's a steady increase in folks buying phones with bigger screens over the past 4 years, and the exact opposite trend when it came to buying phones with smaller screens. And I think a lot of that buying behavior has to do with the steady increased dependency that all of us have with our mobile devices now. We use our phones a ton more than even just a few years ago, and when you're relying on your smartphone as your primary device for consuming media or playing games, it makes a lot of sense that bigger equates to better here. I think another driving factor behind why the 12 mini and the 13 mini sales completely bombed is the way those phones were priced and positioned. Though they were the cheapest flagship option of their time, $699 is not exactly small money, especially when there were a lot of other bigger options available around that same price range. Now, I personally don't think the price itself was that unreasonable. The mini could be argued as the best valued iPhones of their time considering how feature-rich they were, but I think another reason why sales floundered was because the standard non-mini 12 and 13 were launched right next to them for only $100 more. That's a pretty small premium that I think a lot of consumers were willing to pay, especially if they were in the mindset of bigger is better. I think the mini iPhones would have done a lot better if they were launched separately from the flagship lineup and had a slightly cheaper price tag. I think there would have been better adoption if this was independently marketed as Apple's mid-tier phone that came in at like $550 or something. There would have been a lot more interest then. And I think the last reason why the mini iPhones just didn't sell, I mean, there's just a lot of stereotypes that the mini form factor is susceptible to. And at the end of the day, I think people who were even interested in it just couldn't pull the trigger. I've said this numerous times, if I were not a tech YouTuber who basically gets a new iPhone every year for testing, even I probably would have passed on the mini too. It's so different compared to what's the norm today, it makes it kind of intimidating to go with, as you're kind of left wondering if it's gonna be a crap phone. But if you took the plunge like I have, the mini iPhone, particularly the 13 mini, has probably one of the strongest cult followings, as the people who have it absolutely adore it. And ironically, one of the main reasons they do is because of the small size, not the other way around. Now, the one gripe about the mini form factor that I will say is somewhat justified is the battery life. The phone's small footprint prevents it from being able to have a battery that could give the phone a confident full day of heavy use, and though some significant improvements have been made with the 13 mini, it's still not an ideal phone for power users. That said, I've been using the 13 mini as my main phone for a couple months now. I did a pretty hard 180 switching from the beastly 13 Pro Max. You can check out the video I did on that here. But long story short, I've been loving it. It's by far the most comfortable iPhone I've ever used, and to me, it's been a net positive in a variety of different ways. Now, with the omission of an iPhone 14 mini, does this mean that we're never going to see a mini iPhone again? Maybe, maybe not. So there are some rumors going around that Apple may do what I had mentioned earlier and do a mini refresh outside of their flagship lineup. If they do this, they're likely only going to update the phone every other year to help minimize its risk, which I think is fair. But the real sort of wish for me is that Apple makes the mini form factor the successor to the iPhone SE. That to me would totally revive the SE from its severely dated form factor and just completely refresh that lineup. And the Mini is a better phone in virtually every way and still caters to a smaller population of folks that want a smaller phone. Either way, if this is indeed the last opportunity to get a mini iPhone, now is a pretty dang good time to get one, as the 13 mini now goes for $599. I'm personally doubling down my love for the mini iPhone, and I'm hoping this isn't the last time I'll see one. But hey, that's just me, and I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the death of the mini iPhone? Are you wanting to see it come back? Or are you fine that Apple gave it the X? Curious to get your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Okay, that's about it for this review. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you guys find it useful. Again, I really appreciate it. Check out these other reviews if you're looking for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.